The bet was public. Victoria Lane had made it at a press briefing on the third day in front of 11 journalists, 0:77 seconds cameras, and 62 of the most qualified aviation engineers in the country. She had stood at the podium outside Hangar 7. 0:16 seconds at Lane Aviation Group's private facility in Tedborough, New Jersey, and she had said the words with the specific 0:23 second certainty of a person who has consulted everyone available to her and received the same answer from all of them. She 0:31 seconds said, $1 million cash to any individual or firm that can. 0:38 seconds start this aircraft's engines before the end of the week. The journalists had written it down. The cameras had 0:45 seconds recorded it. The 62 engineers had heard it and most of them had looked at the ground, which was the expression of 0:53 seconds people who had already spent 3 days on a problem and who understood from the inside of that experience that the $1,001 million was probably safe. The story had run in 4 regional publications by the following morning. 1:081 8 seconds by Thursday, day 6, the bet had attracted 200 engineers from 11 countries who had either been working on the aircraft in person or consulting. 1:171 17 seconds remotely through the diagnostic feed that Victoria's technical director had set up on the second day. The aircraft. 1:241 24 seconds in question was a Gulfstream G700 Midnight Silver delivered to Victoria 14. 1:321 32 seconds months earlier. The most technologically advanced private jet in the world at the time of its introduction. With avionic 1:401 40-second systems so sophisticated that the manufacturer had assigned a dedicated technical support team to every new 1:471 47 seconds delivery for the first 6 months of operation. Clears throat, it had not started in 6 days. 1:551 55 seconds not because of engine failure, not because of fuel system failure, not because of any of the mechanical systems. 2:022 2 seconds that 200 engineers had systematically examined, tested, replaced, recalibrated, and examined again. 2:112 11 seconds, clears throat, because of a corrupted initialization file in the avionics software. A file that was 4 kilobytes in 2:182 18 second size. A file that could be cleared and reset in under 4 minutes by anyone who knew it existed. And knew where to. 2:252 25 seconds find it. Nobody in the hangar knew except a man who had been walking past Hangar 7 with a delivery box when he 2:332 33 seconds stopped. He stopped because of a tablet on a workbench. He stopped because of something his father had written in the margin of a military avionics manual in 1994. 2:442 44 seconds and he stopped because he had seen this exact fault before, once on a military aircraft in 2016. 2:532 53 seconds and he had never forgotten what fixed it. Drop your city in the comments right now. Where in the world are you watching? 3:003 from today and subscribe. We tell stories like this every single week. Hit that button. 3:083 8 seconds now, let me take you somewhere you did not expect this story to go. Daniel Shaw had a rule about his shop. Nothing on. 3:173 17 seconds the walls, not certificates, not photographs, not the kind of framed documentation that mechanics and 253 25 seconds engineers placed on the walls of their workspaces to communicate to clients and colleagues and anyone who walked through. 3:323 32 seconds the door. The institutional validation of what they had done and who, clears throat, they were qualified to be. The walls of Shaw Avionics end. 3:4 minutes, 41 seconds. Electronics on Canal Street in Newark were white and bare, and they had been that way since the day Daniel opened the shop 4 years ago. 3:503 minutes, 50 seconds. His daughter Emma had asked him about it once. She had been 7 at the time. 3:553 minutes, 55 seconds. She had come to the shop after school and had stood in the middle of the main workspace and looked at the white walls for a long moment and said, "Why is 4:044 minutes, 4 seconds there nothing up there?" Daniel had looked at the walls. He had said, "Because the work is what matters, not 4:134 minutes, 13 seconds the paper that says you can do it." Emma had considered this. She had said, "But how do people know you can do it if 4:204 minutes, 20 seconds there's nothing on the walls?" Daniel had pointed at the bench, at the partially disassembled navigation system. 4:274 minutes, 27 seconds she had been working on when she arrived, at the diagnostic equipment arranged beside it. At the log book open to the 4:354 minutes, 35 seconds current job entry, he had said they bring me the thing they need fixed. I fix it. That's how they know. She had 4:434 minutes, 43 seconds looked at the navigation system, then at the log book, then at the walls again. 4:514 minutes, 51 seconds she had written something in her notebook and not said anything else about it. The walls stayed bare. What? 4:584 minutes, 58 seconds the bare walls did not tell anyone who walked into Shaw Avionics and Electronics was this. Daniel Shaw had 5:075 minutes, 7 seconds spent 11 years as an avionics technician in the United States Army. He had been stationed at 4 different 5:145 minutes, 14 seconds installations across 2 continents. He had worked on avionics systems and aircraft that operated in conditions 5:205 minutes, 20 seconds that civilian aviation did not encounter and that civilian diagnostic equipment was not designed to assess. He had 5:285 minutes, 28 seconds developed across those 11 years an understanding of avionics system failures that was specifically shaped by 355 minutes, 35 seconds the military context environments where the standard troubleshooting protocol was not always available where the 5:435 minutes, 43 seconds documentation was sometimes incomplete and where the fault had to be found by a person who understood the system's architecture well enough to read its behavior rather than follow a checklist. 5:555 minutes, 55 seconds his father, Raymond Shaw, had been an avionics technician before him. 30 years of military service, 2 wars, equipment. 6:046 minutes, 4 seconds that the manufacturers had stopped supporting before the service life ended, and that Raymond had kept operational through the specific. 6:116 minutes, 11 seconds combination of deep system knowledge and the willingness to find solutions that the manual did not describe. Raymond had 6:196 minutes, 19 seconds kept an avionics manual from his first posting a military issue reference document from 1987 that had accumulated 6:276 minutes, 27 seconds across 30 years a dense layer of Raymond's penciled annotations in the margins. Observations from real faults. 6:356 minutes, 35 seconds she had encountered, solutions he had developed, notes that he had written not for any official record, but for himself. 6:436 minutes, 43 seconds and eventually for Daniel, who had read the manual cover to cover 3 times before he was 18, and who carried it in 516 minutes, 51 seconds the toolbox of his shop van the way other people carried first aid kits, not for daily use, but for the situations. 6:586 minutes, 58 seconds that the standard equipment did not cover. 7:0:27 minutes, 2 seconds. 1 annotation on page 214 of that manual written in Raymond's careful left-handed pencil script in the margin beside the section on avionics. 7. 117 minutes, 11 seconds. Initialization sequences had stayed in Daniel's mind with the specific persistence of things that turn out to 7:187 minutes, 18 seconds be true across many different situations over many years. It said software lies. 7:267 minutes, 26 seconds before hardware fails. Always check the initialization file before you replace anything. The hardware is almost never. 7:347 minutes, 34 seconds. The problem. Raymond had written it in 1994 after a fault on an avionics platform that had grounded an aircraft. 7:417 minutes, 41 seconds. For 9 days before Raymond found it in 20 minutes by ignoring the hardware entirely and going straight to the software initialization sequence. 7:517 minutes, 51 seconds. Daniel had encountered the same fault category once in his own career. 7:567 minutes, 56 seconds. In 2016 on a military transport aircraft that had been grounded for 3 days before his shift supervisor had put him on it. He had found it in 4 minutes. 8:068 minutes, 6 seconds. He had written the solution in his own margin note directly below his father's. 8:118 minutes, 11 seconds. He drove to Teterboro on Thursday morning to deliver a repaired door navigation instrument to a small charter operator. 8:198 minutes, 19 seconds. In Hangar 3. He parked. He picked up the delivery box. He walked toward Hangar 3. 8:258 minutes, 25 seconds. He passed Hangar 7. The door was open. 8:288 minutes, 28 seconds. He saw the Gulf Stream. He saw the tablet on the workbench just inside the hangar entrance. He stopped walking. 8:368 minutes, 36 seconds. Victoria Lane had not made the bed impulsively. She had made it on the 3rd day after 2 days of watching 62. 8:438 minutes, 43 seconds. Engineers produced nothing. After her technical director had told her for the second time that the fault profile was 8:508 minutes, 50 seconds. Unlike anything in the Gulfstream G700's known fault library and after the manufacturer's own technical support. 8:588 minutes, 58 seconds. Team had spent 4 hours on a remote diagnostic session and produced a report recommending that the aircraft be returned to the factory for a full 9:069 minutes, 6 seconds. Avionics system audit. The factory return would take 6 to 8 weeks. Victoria had a charter event and 9 days of private. 9:159 minutes, 15 seconds. Flight for a group of 12 clients whose combined business represented $8.4 million annual revenue to Lane. 9:229 minutes, 22 seconds. Aviation Group. The event had been planned for 4 months. The G700 was the aircraft specified in the contract. She 9:309 minutes, 30 seconds. Could substitute another aircraft. She had 3 other jets in the fleet. None of them were the G700. 9:379 minutes, 37 seconds. The clients had specifically requested the G700. 9:419 minutes, 41 seconds. One of them had flown on it before and had described it to the others as the finest private aviation experience he had encountered. 9:509 minutes, 50 seconds. Substituting another aircraft was an option. It was also a statement. A statement about the kind of operation Lane Aviation Group was and whether it 10:0010 minutes could deliver what it promised to clients whose expectations were set at a level that substitutions communicated something specific about. Victoria had 10:0810 minutes, 8 seconds. Decided the statement was not one she was willing to make. The bet had been her operations director's idea. Offered. 10:15 10 minutes, 15 seconds cautiously on the morning of day 3 as an alternative to returning the aircraft to the factory. 10:22 10 minutes, 22 seconds. The logic was straightforward. The manufacturer's diagnostic process had produced nothing. The contracted 10:29 10 minutes, 29 seconds specialists had produced nothing. The remote consulting network had produced nothing. The bed opened the problem to 10:36 10 minutes, 36 seconds. Anyone in the world who believed they had a solution. It, Clear's throat, was a long shot. It was also the only avenue that had not been tried. Victoria had 10:45 10 minutes, 45 seconds. Considered it for 40 minutes. Then she had walked to the press briefing that had already been scheduled for an unrelated operational announcement, and she had added the bet to the agenda. 10:57 10 minutes, 57 seconds. $1 million any individual or firm before end of week. She had said it with complete certainty because she had 11:0511 minutes, 5 seconds received the same answer from 200 qualified people, and she believed that 200 qualified answers constituted 11 minutes, 12 seconds evidence about what was and was not possible. She had been wrong about what the 200 answers constituted. They 11:21 11 minutes, 21 seconds constituted evidence about how 200 people with the same training approached the same problem. They did not constitute evidence about what all approaches to the problem would produce. 11:32 11 minutes, 32 seconds. The distinction mattered enormously. It would matter specifically on Thursday morning when a man with a delivery box 3911 minutes, 39 seconds stopped outside Hangar 7 and looked at a tablet on a workbench. 11:44 11 minutes, 44 seconds. The tablet was showing the aircraft's avionics diagnostic log. 11:49 11 minutes, 49 seconds. 986 hours of fault data, timestamps, system responses, error codes. The 11:56 11 minutes, 56 seconds sequential record of an aircraft's avionics systems doing something that the engineers monitoring them had been 12:03 2 minutes, 3 seconds unable to explain. The ground crew supervisor, a man named Pete, who had been with Lane Aviation for 6 years, had 12:11 12 minutes, 11 seconds left it open on the workbench because he had been consulting it throughout the morning and had stepped away to take a call. Daniel set his delivery box on the 12:20 12 minutes, 20 seconds ground. He did not ask permission to look at the tablet. He picked it up. He scrolled to the beginning of the log. 2812 minutes, 28 seconds. Not the current error state, the initialization sequence from the moment the fault first appeared. He read for 90. 12:35 12 minutes, 35 seconds. Then he set the tablet down. He picked up his delivery box. He knocked. 12:42 12 minutes, 42 seconds on the interior door of Hangar 7. Pete appeared. Daniel, I need to talk to someone about your avionics log. Pete. 12:50 12 minutes, 50 seconds looked at him. Pete looked at the delivery box. Pete, are you an engineer? 5512 minutes, 55 seconds. Daniel, I'm delivering a VOR instrument to Hangar 3, but I've seen this fault before and I know what it is. Pete, 200. 13:0313 minutes, 3 seconds. Engineers have been on this aircraft for 6 days. Daniel, I know. None of them looked at the initialization file. Pete stared at him. Daniel, can I show you? 13:14 13 minutes, 14 seconds. Pete made a decision in approximately 4 seconds. Not because he was reckless, because he had spent 6 days watching. 2213 minutes, 22 seconds. Qualified people produce nothing. And because the man in front of him had said something specific, not something 13:29 13 minutes, 29 seconds general, not something vague, something specific about an initialization file that Pete did not fully understand, but 13:37 13 minutes, 37 seconds that Pete's 6 years of ground crew experience told him was either the most informed thing anyone had said in this 4,513 minutes, 45 seconds hanger in 6 days or the most confident piece of nonsense he had encountered in the same period. He let Daniel in. The 13:54 13 minutes, 54 seconds hangar was large and well lit and currently occupied by 4 engineers who had been on the overnight shift and who 14:0214 minutes, 2 seconds were at various stages of a diagnostic session that had been running since 2 o'clock in the morning. The Gulfstream sat in the 14:0914 minutes, 9 second center of the space under the hangar lights. It looked exactly like a functioning aircraft. It was not functioning. Daniel walked to the 14:18 14 minutes, 18 seconds avionics bay access panel on the aircraft's left side. He did not open it. He went to the avionics terminal on 14:25 14 minutes, 25 seconds the ground support equipment cart beside the aircraft, the diagnostic interface that connected to the jet's avionics network and through which the fault had 3,314 minutes, 33 seconds been monitored and interrogated for 6 days. He sat down at the terminal. He navigated to the initialization log, not 14:41 14 minutes, 41 seconds the fault log, the initialization log, the record of what the avionics systems did in the first 30 seconds of power up. 14:50 14 minutes, 50 seconds the sequence that happened before any of the fault codes appeared. He read it. He was quiet for 60 seconds. Then he said 15:0015 Minutesto Pete, who was standing beside him, the primary and backup navigation systems are running different firmware versions. The update that was performed 15:0815 minutes, 8 seconds on day 1 of this fault, the routine software update pushed new firmware to the primary system. The backup didn't. 15:16 15 minutes, 16 seconds receive it correctly. The initialization sequence starts both systems simultaneously. They conflict at the sync check because they're running 2,415 minutes, 24 seconds different versions. The aircraft safety protocol reads the sync failure as a critical navigation fault and prevents 15:31 15 minutes, 31 seconds engine start. Pete, our engineers ran full firmware diagnostics. 15:37 15 minutes, 37 seconds both systems came back as current version. 15:41 15 minutes, 41 seconds Daniel, because the firmware version reporting function reads the installed version header, the header on the backup system updated correctly. The 4,915 minutes, 49 seconds initialization file didn't. The header says current. The initialization file says previous. They're in conflict. And 15:59 15 minutes, 59 seconds the header is what the standard diagnostic reads. So the standard diagnostic says everything is fine. 16:0516 minutes, 5 seconds he pointed at a specific line in the initialization log. 16:10 16 minutes, 10 seconds Daniel, that error right there, that's the sync failure. It's in the initialization log, not the fault log. 2016 minutes, 20 seconds nobody was looking at the initialization log because the fault codes pointed at navigation hardware. Pete looked at the line. He looked at Daniel. 16:30 16 minutes, 30 seconds Pete, how do you know this? Daniel, my father wrote it in the margin of an avionics manual in 1994. 16:38 16 minutes, 38 seconds. I saw the same fault in 2016 on a military transport. I fixed it in 4 minutes. Pete said, what's the fix? 16. 4,816 minutes, 48 seconds. Daniel, clear the initialization file on the backup navigation system and force a fresh initialization. 16:56 16 minutes, 56 seconds. It'll take 4 minutes. Both systems will sync to the same firmware version. The conflict resolves. The aircraft starts. 17:0617 minutes, 6 seconds. One of the 4 overnight engineers, a woman named Dr. Sarah Okafor, who had a PhD in avionic systems engineering from 14:17 minutes, 14 seconds MIT, and who had been on this aircraft since day one, had been listening from the adjacent workstation. 17:21 minutes, 21 seconds. She stood up. She walked to the terminal. She looked at the initialization log line that Daniel had pointed at. She looked at Daniel. 17:32 17 minutes, 32 seconds. Dr. Okafor, we weren't looking at the initialization log. 17:37 17 minutes, 37 seconds. Daniel, no, Dr. Okafor, because the fault codes didn't point there. Daniel. 17. 4,417 minutes, 44 seconds. The fault codes pointed at navigation hardware. 17:48 17 minutes, 48 seconds. The initialization log is a separate diagnostic layer. It's not part of the standard fault monitoring protocol, Dr. 17:56 17 minutes, 56 seconds. Okafor. It's part of the military avionics diagnostic protocol. 18:0218 minutes, 2 seconds. Daniel. Yes. She looked at the terminal for a long moment. Then she looked at Pete. Dr. Okafor, let him fix it. 18 minutes, 11 seconds. Subscribe right now because the next 4 minutes in this hangar are the reason this story exists. Hit that subscribe button. New story every week. 18:23 18 minutes, 23 seconds. Daniel asked for 2 things. A direct avionics terminal connection with write access to the backup navigation systems. 18:31 18 minutes, 31 seconds. Initialization partition and 4 minutes without anyone asking him questions. 18:37 18 minutes, 37 seconds. Pete gave him both.